back, everybody, to another episode of Kickin' It with BShea. I'm, of course, your host, BShea. Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think I'd be doing this again. I kind of figured, once, last May, my last episode, I was a senior in college. All the episodes are recorded in the studio there. It was all taken care of there by the wonderful president, Reese Merritt, and his crew. And I kind of thought that would be it. But as the last few months have gone by, I've kind of seen that. I've missed it a lot. I really have. I really enjoy doing these episodes, and I have a lot of fun with it. But I also have fun with. I don't know. It's more, a lot of it is myself. Is I like learning more, and I like doing the research and things like that to come up with episodes. And every time I got a guest, those were awesome to get other people on, other perspectives, other again, just broadening my knowledge more and more. And as the last few months have gone on, I realized I've kind of missed this creative outlet that I had kind of built up for myself, something I could always turn back on. So well, clearly here I am. And there's a couple changes. Things are a little different. For one, I am not in the studio that was at the campus of Springfield College because I've graduated. I no longer attend the school. So right now I am actually I bought a microphone, which here's one of the changes is I think I'm going to start uploading these to YouTube, so there's like a visual element. That's something I never had while I was at Springfield because it was all audio. But so if you're watching this on YouTube, hello, hi, this is what I look like. Also peep the backdrop. I worked pretty hard on that. But if you're listening still on any of the audio platforms, I've bought myself a microphone, which hopefully you can tell, it's better than just streaming through a laptop or through my cell phone. So that, that's something that's a little bit different. Also, just getting the episodes out, I had to find a way to post them myself. So I've uploaded most of my log onto Spotify. So if you're a Spotify listener, you should be able to find most of everything. SoundCloud, I can do the same thing. Apple's a little tougher because it's just the process of posting is a little bit tougher. You can't really just mass do everything. So I think I'm gonna have to start doing. It might just be like I put the last episode I recorded up, the one with my dad, and then it's probably going to be the most recent ones. So sorry if you're an Apple listener and you want to go back and hear some old ones, but hopefully down the line I can figure something out. But I don't know. In the meantime, we'll just roll with what we got, and then YouTube. We'll see how much. I don't really love being on camera. I'm going to be honest. I also don't have a camera. The visual is actually from my iPhone, so it's not going to be great. I don't know if I enjoy it, maybe I'll go out and get a camera, get something nice. But for now, small setup, but I enjoy it. Again, this is something that it's just meant to have fun, meant to creative outlet, just something to do. I'm not looking to be famous or anything like that off this. That was never the goal, and that never is the goal. It's always to have fun and just try and learn something together, right? So that's the goal. But yeah, so that's where I've been the last couple months. But one thing I realized, also is, I've been at school basically my whole life, everything that I can remember. So this is the first time in my life that I don't have school classes, anything like that. So I've kind of called it like the, bridging the gap in a sense, right? Like I'm still out looking for my first, real job. I always throw the air quotes on a real job there because, I've had other jobs, what I'm talking about. My first like full time doing something like that. But in the meantime, I've been doing something I like to call out of side quests, right? Just doing the kind of things that over the summer it was fun. Now that it's daylight savings era has hit and it is dark. Like I said, I record this at 5:20 right now. It's pitch black outside, so that's great. It makes me feel amazing. But so yeah, I've been doing a lot of side quests, and I don't know. Basically, where I was going with this is, over the last couple of weeks, something that's also intrigued me is just the idea of the side quest. Like, we always see celebrities do something. Sometimes it's business ventures. Sometimes it's just random things that they went on to do. And I feel like rappers have always had very interesting side quests for the most part. I mean, a lot of them take the same. Let's say the bigger you are, usually the more opportunity you're going to have elsewhere. So, for example, you take somebody like, I don't know, like Ice Cube, right? Ice Cube, huge rapper, but he also kind of got into the acting field, which is something that you see. I feel like that's the most common side quest or like career arc, in a sense, is to kind of go on and do something a little bit different. It's similar, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's still entertainment. It's still something like that. It's just now you're on the big screen instead of just audio, which is something. But there's been others. I think one of the biggest ones was, remember when Dre dropped Beats, right? Like that was a huge when it came out. Obviously, I believe he sold it to Apple for like $1 billion or something crazy. But it's a side quest to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fits Dre's brand. The name was perfect, but Beats by Dre, that was a side thing. Others have done other things. I kind of wanted to find some more random, more niche things that, like, not the common person would find. Like, another one with Ice Cube was like this Big Three League. Like, that's really random, but I feel like most people know that Ice Cube was a co-founder of that league. And then so last couple of weeks I've been just looking up at just random things that rappers have done, and I've compiled a little bit of a list. I don't actually know how many I have here. 1, 2, 3. I've got 5. Some of these are more common. Like, this is things that I didn't ever hear of as quote unquote side quests. Side hustles would be another good word for it. But other people probably have some of these I did know a little bit, but not as much. So, like, for example, one that I didn't put on the list, but I thought was interesting, that Snoop Dogg was a football coach. I don't know. Funny to me. I believe he played. I think his son played in college, maybe. I don't know. Football's definitely run in his family, but that was something that I always found pretty funny. Just like, I can't imagine Snoop Dogg being a coach, but I don't know. He's at a lot of football games. He's a Steelers fan. Go Steelers. But anyway, long-winded transition to getting into what I really wanted to, which was kind of this life after rap. Not all of these are after rap. A lot of these are some. Some of them are after rap, but the quote-unquote side quests. And I kind of provide a little bit of a list here. So the first one I want to start with is probably, I think, the funniest, in my opinion. Well, I don't know. The last one we'll get into is, again, a guy that everybody has kind of heard in some sense, his side hustles, but whatever, we'll get there in a minute. So Uncle Luke from 2 Live Crew, right? Miami bass, big group there, big vulgar group, which is kind of important for this. Running for mayor. I'm sorry, but that doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, the Kanye for president thing, but I guess more real, in a sense. So in February of 2011, Luther Campbell is his full name. So Campbell announced that he was going to be running for mayor of the Miami-Dade County on a platform that includes making housing projects safer, sure, transparency in local government, absolutely, and taxing strippers. Thanks, Uncle Luke. Why he did it? I don't know. I didn't really look into it. I think it's hilarious that he had to add the taxing strippers thing. Very fitting. The first two actually like made sense, in a sense, but whatever. In the vote, he only got 4th out of 11th place. He got 11% of the vote, which I don't know. It's not. It's better than probably most would do, but for a guy that, like, he's the reason there's explicit logos, you know what I mean, in the corner of albums. Him being any form of, public figure is probably not good. So, best that he probably didn't win that, but something that I found hilarious when I was looking through some side quests. So next up we have Willie D from the Ghetto Boys. Something that this one's probably more of the more known ones, but he was a boxer, right? So he was even during the time of when he was recording with the Ghetto Boys, he he was boxing. That's why he was so big, so buff. He started out when he was 11, and I wrote down here they won Gold Gloves for the state of Texas in 1985. Obviously, he went on to be a rapper, but he did return to boxing in the during the 90s. So in the early 90s, he actually had a charity boxing like fight against Melly Mel. Sure, why not? Right, charity boxing, things like that. This was the Logan Paul or whatever, Jake Paul fighting whoever he wants now in 1992. So Jake Paul stole it from Willie D. Anyway, so further on, he had a couple more fights. He had two more, one in 99, one in 2000, and he actually won both of those by knockout, and then he had a draw against in a third fight on August 24th of 2000, and in his last fight he lost in a knockout, and that was October of 2000. So long time ago, but that was a fun one. Why not? We'll kind of adds, I guess, more to the scariness of Willie D and that like southern-ish kind of rap that he had going there with the Ghetto Boys. Yeah, that's a fun one. So the next one here this was more of a life after rap one that I was kind of alluding to, and that is Warren G. The G-Funk rapper with his barbecue sauce and rubs. This one's pretty funny. So I kind of got this from their his website, right? Which is I don't actually know the name of the company. Something to do with Warren G. His name. So the inspiration from this came because of his father, Warren Griffin Jr., who, hold on to that name because it'll come back in some time, trust me. So his father was big into cooking, right? He was this, I don't know, from what I read, incredible cook, incredible guy. So, Warren G looked up to him, and then as his career was kind of winding down, he found a love for the, smoking and barbecue arts. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but that's kind of what I saw. And so he currently sells two barbecue rubs. One is original poultry and seafood barbecue rub, and the second one is all-purpose bite-through barbecue rub. It also sells three sauces. One is Keeping It Original, the other is Smoking Me Out, and finally, We Bring the Heat. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a fun... See, that's one that like doesn't really correlate, you know what I mean? Like again, with the Beats by Dre, correlates, right? Headphones for a producer. Makes sense. The Willie D one makes sense. I mean, I even feel like in a sense he kind of had like a rhyme style where it was kind of like he was hitting punches, or like even when he was singing, like it sounded like he was boxing. He's scary dude, big dude. So those kind of make sense. This one's kind of cool. You know what I mean? This is more like this is what you see when you see Family Business or something like that, or often like a restaurant. People like that, when they kind of get into it, is because of inspirations like this. So I think I feel like that's a pretty cool story, and it's completely opposite of anything of his rapping career, which is awesome. So the next one I'm going to get into, this one's it's more relevant now. But even then, I feel like a decent people knew that Andre 3000 and his clothing brand. So in 2008, he launched what is called Benjamin Bixby, his clothing line. Dropped in 2008, and apparently it was inspired by college football from the mid 1930s. Andre 3000's always been known, especially more recently now, for his outfits, his attire. I feel like he's always been dresses really well, but it always has his own style. It's a little different than like something like I can't wear it clearly, but it's awesome. But I saw that, I believe at this year's Met Gala he like launched his another line or something. This is more of like the typical fashion that you would see at a Met Gala and things like that. It was re-released or relaunched as Benji Bixby, so it's slightly different, still his clothing brand, but it's a little bit different style. And I feel like that's perfect for Andre 3000. That's just the kind of guy he's kind of turned into. You know, you want to talk about like a side quest. I feel like he's a guy that's had a ton of side quests. Probably ones that like aren't even out there, just things that he's probably done since, you know, they aren't really done rapping, but you know, him and Big Boy, but for what it's worth, Outkast is pretty done. But it's funny to see. I mean, he's another guy. You know, he went on to act for a little bit. Andre did. He had that great, what was it, Coffee Black? I think that was a character in Semi Pro, which I thought he actually nailed too. By the way, I mean, it's easier for a comedy movie. You know, somebody like Ice Cube and Boys in the Hood, like that's a much more demanding role than a comedy role. You know, both obviously did very well in the role. I mean, Ice Cube probably still acts, so there's things like that. But I feel like they've both done, you know, acting wise pretty well. There's not a whole lot of. I feel like most rappers actually pull off the acting role decently. There's cases here and there. Like 50 Cent has had some really good acting performances. I feel like he's had some that have missed the mark pretty bad. I know a couple episodes prior when I was talking with Patrick Fergus, we described DMX or Carnivorous, Lockjaw, Kulev Serpent, whatever the name is. It's some completely insane. By the way, if you have not watched that movie, I highly recommend it. It's free to watch on Tubi. But DMX is in it, and again, I don't think he's bad in that. He is not a bad actor in that movie. The movie itself is horrible. Happens. But anyway, so my final person on this list, and this is kind of the one that I feel like most people would like kind of recognize as the most just like side hustle, kind of like, I don't want to say a worm, but that's kind of the first word that comes to mind. Is this guy is just, you know, one of my I play in a couple softball leagues, and one of my teammates, he had this really great saying of finagle for the bagel. And I feel like that is what Soulja Boy does with his life, and that is who I'm talking about here, is Soulja Boy. Not only is Soulja Boy one of just like the funniest people ever, like not even on purpose. It's just some of the things he does is completely just insane, which a couple of these I'll get into in a second, because just if you go to his Wikipedia page, there is a full like page dedicated to just his side hustles, and I think it's called Other Ventures, which are unbelievably hilarious. So I want to get into a couple of them right here. So the first one that came out, which hilarious to me, is in 2008. He launched his own fashion line. Not a guy that needs a fashion line. Andre 3000, sure. Kanye, sure. Whatever. They're interesting. They can kind of do their things. Soulja Boy, hell no. Absolutely not. Does not need it. That is awesome. He also released a shoe, made another clothing line, and then from what I'm bringing here, he has a shoe or a store. He had a store that was in LA. I don't know if it's still open. It's called Boulevard Supply. I don't know. There's Soulja Boy had no business doing anything with clothing. That's awesome. I love it. So that one kind of makes some sense, though. You know what I mean? Like, other rappers have done like I just mentioned, who've done the clothing line kind of thing. But in 2016, Soulja Boy signed a deal with the World Poker Fund Holdings for 5 years. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That's awesome. Like, I don't even know how this one happened. My guess is the company was just like, oh, Soulja Boy would be kind of funny to have. Like, you know what I mean? He had a hit song 10 years ago. One, maybe two songs, I'd say. But, and it's just, you know, a way to kind of get the company to be like, oh, look, we have Soulja Boy. It's funny. It's random, which it is. But again, who knows why that's a thing. Shouldn't be, but I love it. And then the final one, so the first two, those, like, I'd never heard of. The World of Poker one, or whatever it is, that is hilarious. I've never heard of that one. Clothing line thing, like, you know, whatever. It's happened before. This is the like, if people have heard of things Soulja Boy has done, my guess is it's this one, and that is his video game console selling, just miscellaneous. That's how I'm gonna put it because he's done a bunch of them. So this one he got a lot of heat for, especially I'll get into it a little bit, but like from Nintendo itself. So in 2008, he released a video game console called the Soldier Game. And it was basically just like one of the handheld Nintendo or Sega devices. And even then, it basically what it was just like it was a Chinese handheld console that he just rebranded as his own thing. Like he obviously he's not designing a gaming console, or coming up with anything to do with that. So he kind of just took something, rebranded it, and said whatever. And it was the thing that he stole was already trying to be a knockoff of something else, right? It's like, I don't know, if you have fake AirPods, right, and then I don't even know. Basically, I'm over explaining it. You get it. It's dumb. It was already dumb. And then a little bit later, he announced he was going to release even more handheld devices. Basically just stealing every single handheld device, right? So it started with some Nintendo and Sega things, and then it went on to the Game Boy and something else, the Soldier Game Fuse, which was like the actual console box that was supposed to be more like, the Xbox or the PlayStation consoles, the PS4 or 5, something like the Xbox One, 360, those kind of things. No business, again, doing that. It's hilarious to me. And then so that was December 15th. He announced it 2 weeks later. So December 30th, he had to pull it all off shelves because of he got a lawsuit from Nintendo. That is awesome. And then he didn't learn his lesson because January 12th, 2019, he released another handheld device, which was supposed to be, it was basically a copy of the PlayStation Vita, like the little PSP thing. Like, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? That is the ultimate just finagle for the bagel, right? That is the ultimate hustling way too far kind of thing. Just get it together, dude. Like, I don't know. But, so, anyway, that was kind of a list of things ones that I found that were pretty funny. Some of those, made sense and they were kind of cool. Others, again, anything Soulja Boy did was just insane. Absolutely hilarious to me. I think it's awesome that he kind of did it all in a sense. You know what I mean? It's dumb, but who knows? Soulja Boy is the Antonio Brown of rap, right? Well, not even close actually. AB had a pretty good prime, football wise, and Soulja Boy, I don't know if he really did. I don't know if there's a good comparison for Soulja Boy. He's kind of his own entity, but I don't know. So there is that. So anyway, so something else that I've kind of transitioning out of that. Those are some fun ones, but I don't know if you've ever heard of the term butterfly effect, right? This is something that is always, for as long as I've heard of it as a thing has intrigued me, right? It's I don't know, it's one of those like brain breaking kind of theories, and it's basically like a domino effect kind of thing, right? Where it's like if one little thing doesn't happen, right? It's like this one little thing doesn't happen, it doesn't set up this whole chain of events that is to come. And I don't know why that's always been so intriguing to me. It's fun. It's pretty easy to do with something in sports. You know what I mean? There's a lot. You can almost do it in anything. Sports is pretty easy to get it all to follow quickly, because you can get if I don't know, David Robinson doesn't get hurt, Spurs don't get Tim Duncan, and they don't end up having a dynasty, right? Like that's kind of a butterfly effect kind of thing. But they can get really out of hand, and so I've compiled a list. I think I only have 3 on here. I wanted a 4th, but I couldn't. It was something to do with how. So I guess this is gonna be my example, because this is kind of. I don't have it in front of me, but this is the way I understand it is so. Jay Dilla, all-time producer, but at the time, so he met Q-Tip. I don't remember how. It's in Dilla Time, the book, but somehow he meets Q-Tip, and so on the side now, the Far Side, just coming off the release of Bizarre Ride to the Far Side, their debut album, and they want to, they're coming up with a second album, but their producer Jay Swift, they were moving on from, and I believe the way the story goes is that they wanted Q-Tip, but Q-Tip at the time was in the midst of, other things he was producing. This is kind of, Q-Tip's producer arc. This is a little bit after, well, not really. He's still with, still with Tribe, still doing his thing, but this is, you can tell he's trying to get more on his producer roots. So 1995 rolls around, and when they're working on, Farside's working on Lab Cabin, California, they want to have Q-Tip. But instead, so Q-Tip can't work on it. He's just too busy. So he's like, here, I'll give you this kid that I met a while back. His name is JD. That's what he went by at the time, Jaydee. And long story short, that's kind of how Jay Dilla came to produce some of the tracks on Lab Cabin, California, right? So that's kind of, in a sense, the butterfly effect right there. If Q-Tip doesn't meet Jay Dilla, then he doesn't end up doing it. It's in a sense kind of, it's a quicker version. Like, they can get really out of hand. So this is a better example, and this is the first one that I really have done some research for. So the first one I have is how Eric B and Rakim met, which is kind of a fun story. This is a better example of a butterfly effect. So Eric B, born in Queens, right? He always into music. I believe he played trumpet, he played drums in high school. He was always interested, and then he started experimenting with turntables after he graduated. So he's mixing, he's doing his thing, and at the time, it's soon in I believe in like '85, he starts DJing for a radio station in New York called WBLS in New York City, where they were, he would also work at some of their promotional events, kind of just doing his thing, and at these promotional events, he ends up meeting this guy. His name is Alvin Toney, who's a producer, also based in Queens. And they kind of, they get to talk and they get to hitting it off a little bit. And I believe the way the story goes is that Eric B is looking to produce a record, but he needs a rapper because he's the beat guy. He needs a side guy who can also do the rapping. And so Tony hears that and he's like, hey, I've got this guy for you, right? He was in another group that Tony had worked with a little bit, and he's like, this is my guy Freddie Fox. Like, Freddie Fox would be great for you. If you want, I can take you to Freddie Fox's house, you guys can meet, and maybe you guys can end up working together. And Eric B's like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's go do that. So they get in a car, they head over to Freddie Fox's house, knock on the door, no answer. All right, knock again, no answer. There's nothing. So come to find out, Mr. Fox isn't home. So Alvin's like, well, I don't want to leave you out with nothing. So he's like, let me take you to one of my high school friends. Take you to his house, where you get meet. So Tony and this kid William Griffin, they played football together. William Griffin was his quarterback. Tony, I believe, he was either a lineman or, OD line, somewhere on the line or something like that, or a receiver. He's they're really close friends, whatever. So, he's like, let me meet. Tony is saying, let me introduce you to my friend William Griffin. So he brings him to meet him, and at the time, Griffin he was a really, really good quarterback, and he never wanted to be a rapper, right? His goal was he wanted to go to college. He wanted to play college football, try and be a quarterback, and take that route, see where it went. But Tony kind of, got him to agree with it a little bit, and William Griffin later starts taking on the name Rakim, and there you go. There's Eric B and Rakim. So that's a little bit of the butterfly effect right there for you, right? So it's if Freddie Fox is home, we may never get Eric B and Rakim. That to me is insane, right? It's those little moments that are so crazy, and things like that have always been so interesting to me. They're always really good in sports, and in this, I feel like, that's awesome. Like, that's such a crazy story. those like by chance things. So the second one I have, it's another similar story. Like these always don't have to be meeting wise. Obviously, it can be anything. And the one I have after this is not really how people came to meet, but in a sense. But this one is straight up just how people met, and it's going to be how Dre and Snoop came to be. This one's a little more famous. I would say more so than the Eric B. and Rakim one, but to me, it's still pretty crazy. So Dre's born in Compton, right? And pretty early, his parents get separated. I believe Dre was only like 3 years old. They separate, and then a couple years later, they divorce. So his mother remarries to a guy named Curtis Cran. Shout out Crayola. And they have a couple kids together. One of them notably is Dre's brother Tyree. So rest in peace, Tyree. The song, the message. It's on the 2001 album. That Dre's talking about. So after that, right? And so they get, those two get married. And then a couple years later, they actually end up getting divorced, and Dre's mother ends up remarrying again. And if you were paying attention earlier, this name will sound familiar. Ends up marrying Warren Griffin Jr., who he has, Mr. Griffin himself, has 3 daughters and a son. And if you're going to connect the dots, you probably have already done it, but if not, I'll spell it out for you. His son's name is Warren Griffin III, also known as Warren G. Pretty crazy, but this, again, keeps going. Again, so kind of flipping sides now. In the late 1980s, Snoop Dogg, along with his cousins, Nate Dogg and Lil Half Dead, again, another family one, just kind of cool, Nate Dogg and Snoop Dogg. Rest in peace, Nate Dogg, by the way. They were friends with Warren G, and they began making some tapes together. So that's kind of how Warren G, Nate Dogg, and Lil Half Dead came together, and they had their group 213, kind of, California. And they started making these tapes, these demo tapes, and Snoop ends up making this one tape where he freestyles over "Hold On" by En Vogue, and puts on a mixtape. So I believe the way that the story goes is that they're at a bachelor party together, and with everybody, and Warren G has Snoop's mixtape with him, and goes up to Dre and is like, "Hey, this is my boy, whatever, Snoop. You should give us a listen. I think, he's got real talent." Dre goes back, plays it, and then kind of, the rest is history in a sense. That one is pretty random to me, right? So, again, the butterfly effect here is that if Dre's mother doesn't remarry twice, right, and end up marrying Warren Griffin Jr., Dre probably doesn't get to meet Warren G. And in that case, or, definitely doesn't become brothers with him, but doesn't become brothers with that. And then probably doesn't end up meeting Snoop Dogg. Again, some of these are, who knows, maybe they'd still end up meeting. I don't know. Same thing with Eric B. and Rakim. Maybe they still end up meeting, but it's probably, it just becomes a little more unlikely, right? Like these are some crazy little wormholes that kind of time moves through. It's always been so hard for me to like wrap my head around, but I think it's awesome. I think it's something. It's a fun way to like look at things, right? So, kind of the last one I have here is 50 Cent, and more of like, it's more of kind of like a career arc for 50 Cent, but I'd say that this is kind of how one song led to the release of one song led to 50 Cent getting in the club, but not, the song in the club, but not in the way, like, it's not here, it's like, right? So this is going to be a longer one, because there's a lot more that goes on to this. So 50 starts rapping younger teen years, late teens, I guess, and in a friend's basement. And a couple years later, I believe in the mid to late 90s, that friend takes him to meet Jam Master Jay from Run DMC, who was at the time establishing his own personal record label, and Jam Master Jay kind of taught 50 some of the basics: how to count bars, how to write choruses, how to structure songs, make records, right? Basically how to do what they had mastered almost 10 years ago at that time, maybe even more than that, with Run DMC in that era. And so with those talents, 50 starts to make some music, starts to make a little bit of a name for himself, right? And he has some fun ones. Most notably, he has the song, which was How to Rob, which was just him, kind of 50 Cent almost had like a early on, not, I wouldn't say a Biz Markie kind of like humor to him, but that kind of like vein, more of like a Too Short, kind of just like having fun, not as vulgar as Too Short in like the women's sense, but more of like a just having fun. You know what I mean? Like he just like to have fun, and for him, I mean, honestly, How to Rob, he kind of name dropped a lot of people on it, so he got some hefty responses for it, and most notably one of which was Nas, who invited him to be on his Nostradamus tour. And then at the same time, 50 releases his song. I don't know how to say it, so I'm probably gonna get killed for it, but I believe the pronunciation is Ghetto Koran. Ghetto Koran, something like that. He releases this song, which does not go well for 50 Cent. It's the easiest way to put it. So it's been theorized that because of this song, this is why 50 Cent got shot, and he got shot 9 times. And it is also kind of theorized that this is the reason that Jam Master Jay was also murdered. Which is crazy for a song, but the gist of the song is that he's kind of kind of name drops some people that were selling drugs in the late 80s, as was 50 Cent when he was young, which I'll get into a little bit, but it's like an interesting, whatever, the theory makes sense, where it basically they call 50 a snitch, and I believe it was that some drug lords or whatever tried to take him out. I don't know. I don't really look into it so much, but anyway. So yeah, it was supposed to be. So this is like early 2000s. I want to say it's like it might even be the year 2000. This song is supposed to be. I guess I should have said prior to this, he was signed to Columbia Records and he was going to drop his first record, but then this song is on it. It gets leaked, so that's the biggest thing. It gets leaked, and then he ends up getting shot. And at the same time, so Columbia Records ends up dropping him. They kind of credit this song for it, and he also kind of gets like blacklisted from the like world of hip hop, which is unfortunate, and it gets interesting. But again, this is kind of how 50 Cent came to be. So he gets dropped. The album was it was going to be called Power of the Dollar. Anyway, he gets dropped from it, and so this is he gets shot. So now he's in the hospital. He can't really he just been shot 9 times, and now nobody wants to work with him. And again, this is the kind of that blacklist thing. So he's stuck. He can't. Nobody wants to hear from him. And it's bad. So he kind of turns to the only thing he's known to do, and that's kind of to hustle. And that's kind of getting back into his childhood. So growing up, he sold drugs. He was born in Queens. He's raised in South Jamaica, Queens, and it's kind of what he did. Like, just to get by, he was a drug dealer, and that's what he always did. And kind of like Willie D, he was a boxer, right? So he's always kind of doing these side things to kind of get going. So he kind of uses that same mentality. He's like, well, you know what? If nobody's gonna listen to me, I'm he's not giving up. I'm gonna keep going and do my thing. So he ends up releasing just a ton of mixtapes. What he ends up doing is he takes he takes songs and redoes the hooks for them, and ends up doing them better than most, like rap songs. And starts doing his own, those start getting around, to the point where I believe he ends up releasing his own another mixtape, and this is in 2002. He releases the Guess Who's Back mixtape. And what ends up happening is this mixtape finds its way into the hands of Eminem. So, and at the same time, it finds its way in the hands of Eminem, he started to work with Dre a little bit, and Eminem is impressed with what he hears from 50 Cent on it, so he invites him actually to come to California and meet Dr. Dre. And so while they're there, there's this whole, like, I don't want to say Rolodex, but there's like a hub of just beats that Dre had made, and Eminem is like, dude, look, like, we have all these beats, like they're meant for myself in D12, because at the time Eminem was still in D12. He's like, we have all these things, all these songs, these beats. Like, why don't you go ahead and pick one out and see if you like it, see what you can do with it. So he ends up picking out the Into Club beat. And this is a quote here from Eminem. It's from 50, recalling the account. So he said, the very first time he heard me rap on Into Club, he said, yo, I didn't think you were going to go there with it, but it works. He probably was thinking of going a different direction with that song. Then he expanded it into a hit record. So that's pretty crazy to me. Like, there's a whole other thing too with, like, 50 Cent. Actually, I want to say maybe it's not 50, but there's some. Yeah, I think it is 50. Somebody, I believe it's 50, has a couple songs where the beat was made for somebody else, but he was the one who got to use it. There was another one with actually, I think Many Men. I want to say Many Men was produced for Nas, and then Nas kind of fell out of, like, he was making it, but he never ended up finishing it, and 50 Cent got to use the beat, which is crazy. But that one is a crazy one to me. That, like, let's say, even if I think the issue with the Ghetto Koran one was that it got leaked. So, hypothetically, if this thing doesn't get leaked, then none of these chain of events, end up happening. If this doesn't get released, he doesn't get shot, he doesn't get blacklisted, and then he doesn't have to go back, make all these mixtapes, and then maybe those mixtapes don't find its way to Eminem. Eminem doesn't introduce them to Dre, and Eminem and Dre don't let him use. There is a world out there where D12 has an Into Club beat, and it is probably not anything like it should. Like, it ended up turning out to be. So, again, those are, like, that is, to me, the craziest butterfly effect I could find, where it's, I don't know, just the concept of butterfly effect is insane to me. But that one, I think, really, really epitomizes what I was looking for. It was just like how crazy these things can really get. But yeah, so that was, those are some things that over the last couple weeks that I've been really intrigued the most about, and it's honestly those two topics that I really wanted to start. But I really want to do at least another episode. Because I feel like those were fun. Those are things that, like, are really random. More like the butterfly effect ones are so cool to me. The side hustle ones too are fun, but it's specifically the side quest ones are awesome. Yeah. So I have one more thing I wanted to get into. I actually might have to pull the mic stand out. Yeah, I got a mic stand. How cool is that? Huh. And so this segment, the last one I wanted to do, is, I gotta figure out where to put this. I wanted to play a little game. All right, we'll do a little rap quiz. So I let's see if this works. Should work. Still should be on. Gives me the option to have both my hands. Yeah. Hopefully that still works. I think it will. yeah, I think I just wanted to close out this last episode in a fun way. Play a little bit of a game. And so what we are going to be doing is, the first one I wanted to pick was to make sure one that had it wasn't like just visual, right? Like I found one that was pretty cool, where it's like pictures of the rap groups. And you have to name what the groups are. Which, for those of you who don't know, I was not alive in the '90s, so some of these could get pretty fun. But I wanted to get one that audio listeners could also, one that I could really do for everybody. And so I'm going to, here, let me get this ready for the laptop. All right, so what we're going to be playing right now is we have 7 minutes. There's 25 names, and I have to see if I can name the rappers by their birth name. This is always a fun one because you get some interesting, like Eric Wright ends up being Eazy-E. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's on this list, but names like that, like they just don't sound like they should be a rapper, which I've always found pretty funny. So, all right, let's get into this. Play quiz. Like, dude, the first one, I don't even know. All right, so the options are Tupac, 50 Cent, Akon, DMC. I'm going to assume that's Daryl McDaniels. P. Diddy, Dr. Dre, Drake, Easy, Eminem, Fat Joe, Hopsin. I've never even heard of that. Ice Cube, Jay-Z, Kid Cudi, Lil Wayne, Lil Kim, LL Cool J, Nas, Nate Dogg, Nelly, Nicki Minaj, Biggie, Snoop Dogg, T.I., and Tyler, the Creator. So we have 25 names here. Some of these I definitely am not going to know. So the first name I was given was Cornell Irel Haynes Jr. I have no idea. We're gonna skip and go to the next one. Kimberly Denise Jones. I'd have to assume that's Lil Kim. Yes, nice. All right, next one. Joseph Antonio Cartagena. I have no idea. We'll come back to that one. All right, here's a fun one. Aliaum Damala Badara Akon Tiam. That is, of course, Akon. Sean Carter to Jay-Z. Shout out Nas. So that is obviously yeah. So Daryl Matthew McDaniels. That's going to end up being DMC. Nathaniel Hale. I'm pretty sure that's Nate Dogg. Yeah, he is on this list. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Nathaniel Dwayne Hale is Nate Dogg. Yep. Anika Tanya Mirage. Well, based on the last name, I'm going to assume that's Nicki Minaj. That is Aubrey Drake Graham. That's obviously Drake. Christopher George Latore Wallace. For those of you who don't know, that's Biggie. Easy. Nasir bin Aludara Jones. That is, of course, Nas. Marshall Bruce Mathers III. I didn't know he was a third. That's Eminem. Andre Ramel Young. We just talked about him a little bit. Dr. Dre. Scott Ramon Seguro Mescudi. I'm going to assume that's Kid Cudi based on the last name. Yeah, I'm going to pick it. Yes. Tupac Amaru Shakur. That is, of course, Diddy. Haha. That is, of course, Tupac. Dwayne Michael Carter Jr. That sounds familiar. Dwayne Carter. That one might be Diddy, but I'm not sure. No, that's... Wait. No, I know Diddy's now. I can't remember it. Anyway. James Smith? I don't know. Curtis James Jackson III. That is our friend 50 Cent. Yep. Tyler Gregory Okonma. That's got to be Tyler, the Creator, right? Yep. Eric Wright is on the list. Easy. Marcus Hobson. Has to be this Hobson guy, right? Yes. Calvin Cordozar Broadus Jr. That's it. Snoop Dogg. Sean Combs. There it is. That's Diddy. Ugh. All right, now we've got back to something. So Clifford Joseph Harris Jr. Clifford? I almost want to put Fat Jones so I can say, Big Clifford joke, but I don't know. O'Shea Jackson. We'll get back to the last one. So O'Shea Jackson's, of course, Ice Cubes. Cubes, plural. Whoops. All right, Cornell Iro Haynes Jr. I have no idea. Well, we'll skip this one again. We're coming back to it. All right, Joseph Antonio Cartagena has to be Fat Joe. Yes, it is. Dwayne Michael Carter. That's Lil Wayne, isn't it? That's why I know it. Yes. James Todd Smith. Well, my options are Nelly, probably not. T.I., no. Or LL Cool J. Ladies love Cool James Todd Smith. Yes. All right, we have Clifford Joseph Harris and Cornell Iro Haynes Jr. One of which is Nelly, one of which is T.I. I have a feeling that T.I. is Clifford and Nelly would be, yes, that has to be, right? Cornell, Nelly. That's what we're going with. Cornell, yes. And T.I. would be Clifford Harris Jr. We go a perfect 25 of 25 there. 2 minutes and 19 seconds left on the clock. What was there, 7 to start? So it took me about 5 minutes. Sure. That was a bit easy. Some of those you can kind of like, if I knew most of those. If I didn't know them, you kind of can just figure out how to, how they got there. Like the Nelly with the Cornell or whatever. But yeah, so that is that. I don't know. That was kind of fun. That was something different. Something I could actually do a little bit. I've had some other ideas of things to do. I would really like to do like a name that game. It's hard with copyright and things like that. Like I did one a couple episodes back, and I don't think it was allowed at all. Doing like the one you get 1 second of the song, get to name it. I had a lot of fun doing that, but I don't know if that's allowed on these services. I don't think it is, but yeah, I don't know, man. That was I don't know. I think that's all I've got for today, right? I don't have anything else in my notes. It was a fun game, but yeah. So I wanted to get back, just kind of what I was getting to at the beginning. Like it's I don't know. I'd like to produce a couple more episodes. I did buy this microphone, so hopefully I didn't buy it for nothing. I mean, I didn't if this comes out, right? But I've been having a lot of fun. Just like the process of producing these episodes, I've had so much fun doing the research. Again, just getting to learn more and more. And I hopefully people enjoy these. If not, I know I do. I enjoy just finding out these things. But yeah, so I'm kind of in a little bit of a transition era point, right, where I'm trying to figure things out a little bit. So I don't know. I kind of think that's where that's all I've got for today, right? It was just under an hour, right? Around the 53-minute mark. And yeah, I don't even remember the outro to this. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll come up with some on the fly. Well, anyway, thank you everybody if you've gotten to this point in the video or into the audio of the podcast, you are awesome. Like, quite honestly, a lot of this is me just rambling, and I understand that. At some point I'd like to get some guests on and things like that again. I had a lot of fun doing that. I do have one idea in mind. Might be taking place in the city of Chicago coming up in a couple months, and if that person is listening, I might berate them on getting an episode done while we're in the hotel or something like that, because again, this is a very portable setup. But anyway, I know I'm yapping. It's kind of all I do. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, that's if you've gotten this far, that's power to you. And it's, I don't know, I just have a lot of fun doing these. But I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you go, and hopefully I'll catch you all in the next episode. Bye. Okay.